Matthews. Hi, Justin. My dear friend and fellow lover of Indian music and yoga in India and mantras, and we've collaborated quite a bit. You know, not recently, obviously, but we've done kirtans and the summer solstice, and we did that New Year's one. That was great. It was a collaboration of 5 or 6 different sound healers playing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, we worked quite a bit together, and you did the level 1, maybe with Lena, who was here earlier briefly.
Yeah.
I don't think you did the level 1.
You were, yeah.
Oh, Colette?
Colette was here.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
so, and Jerry Lynn, you guys
Yeah.
were together. Okay, okay. You're getting kind of mixed in my mind, Wayne.
Yeah.
Especially this year, I don't even, did I have, it's like even this year, I'm like, yeah, time is weird. But. So, Justin's here, you know, one of his specialties, along with martial arts and various things, is mantra work, and this is a harmonium.
Yeah.
What's better than that, right?
Yeah.
Right? But energy work as well.
Energy work,
Massage.
yeah.
He's a massage. He actually, where Michael is just finishing. You teach there.
I did.
He teaches at that massage school.
Oh,
He's also a massage therapist.
Is it in Iowa City? Is that
Four of them.
Coral, Dancing Prairie, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dancing Prairie. Yeah. So yeah, I invited him so we get a little deeper with mantras and do a little bit of a mantra workshop and dig in a little deeper with some of these Sanskrit mantras and see if we can get some good energy going. And on some of them, you know, we could even play drums while we're doing it. And yeah, I'll help you with the violin and anything else you want. And so I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. Yeah, so you know, mantra is such a cool thing, you know, and like the longer that I've been interacting with mantra, I think the more powerful it has gotten for me. You know, the more that I've developed a relationship with those mantras, you know, then I've begun to understand more and more about how they can be used to integrate certain energies and to help us to process and to transmute and to interrupt some of those, you know, mental, emotional, physical rhythms that we tend to get into. You know, like I'll find that like even days where I'm having like, you know, I'm just in maybe a low vibrational mood, you know, I'm upset and angry or whatever. You know, I will start chanting, and even if I don't really want to start chanting, I'll just throw on some kirtan, and I don't even really want to, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm not really, I'm like, remember to be in my grumpy mood, you know, and then before I know it, I'm singing, you know, and all of a sudden, I'm overflowing with bliss, and I'm like, oh, the whole universe is so beautiful, and you get so ecstatic with it, you know, and it, you know, when I first started, you know, my teacher of mine he just told me just to chant when I was doing in the shower, you know, and I began to just kind of do that, and then over time, I just developed the practice, and then it's become, you know, initially it's through repetition. Essentially, it's just like affirmations, these things like this. It's the idea of inviting something into yourself through repetition and practice. You know, so if mantra, so Sanskrit sort of is all about its vibratory quality. That's what Sanskrit was really formed around. It's the vibration that the sound makes. You know, so that, you know, many of these mantras are thousands of years old. You know, the Gayatri mantra or the Mahamrityunjay mantra are both 5,000 years old and they're written for. You know, so many of these mantras that are constantly practiced all over India are so ancient, and they were revealed through meditation. You know, so these sages, these monks, or these sadhus, they would just meditate and they would listen for whatever the universe was revealing to them, and then these sounds would emerge. One of my favorite teachers, Radhanath Swami, he is a devotee of the god Krishna. So before he even knew who Krishna was, he was traveling through India and having this big spiritual pilgrimage. And he was just listening to the sound of the Ganges. Just the sound was just coming. He was meditating every day on this rock. And then one day, all of a sudden this mantra appeared. And it was this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It was Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, He has no idea who Krishna is, no idea who Rama is. He's never even heard these things. And so he had been chanting this mantra for weeks, maybe even months, until finally he met somebody he just heard the mantra. And he's just like, what? That's the thing that I've been singing. That's the thing that the Ganges has taught me. You know, so mantra is essentially, it's a vibration, it's a frequency, you know, that exists out here in sort of the universe. And, you know, if you're familiar with energy work, if you've done Reiki or something like this, you're calling in a certain vibration, a certain frequency of healing energy. But energy work is available in all forms, right? So just like with mantra, the idea is that we're invoking a certain frequency of energy. We're invoking something that's already present within us, and we're awakening to that. You know, so say we're going to do a chant to Ganesha. So Ganesha, you know, you may have seen this elephant-headed god in the Hindu pantheon, and for some that seems sort of mythological, and it, in some ways it is. It's designed to teach us various lessons through symbolism. But then there's also the aspect of Ganesha in invoking this power to remove obstacles, this power to overcome. When an elephant is moving through a densely forested jungle and they encounter a very deep-rooted tree, all they do is they put their tusk in and they just move it out of the way, and they just keep going forward. So it's saying that you possess this quality to overcome, to move beyond any form of limitation. That anything that's keeping you from being exactly where you want to be, or from being the person that you want to be, all you have to do is invoke that within yourself, that power to manifest, that power to be situated fully in yourself. And so that's what these mantras are about. So, you know, for some people, it's just an energy. It's just invoking a certain energy and a certain type of sound. Some people, it's invoking the universal power. Some people, it's invoking a certain personality that they have a relationship with. You know, so they're all different layers of this. Whether you believe in it or you don't, whether you're viewing it from a secular perspective or not, it still has a benefit. And it's meant to be a science that helps us to go deeper on our own paths. It doesn't matter whether you're an atheist or a Christian or a Hindu or a Buddhist or anything. That doesn't so much matter. It's really just about opening up and inviting a certain meditative energy within yourself. And then just singing out. So it's not, you know, that's the next part of this kirtan, is that, you know, be comfortable. Feel like you can move your bodies. Feel like you can sing as loud as you want to sing. And it's not about being in perfect harmony. You know, it's about the bhavana. Bhav means feeling, the emotion. It's, you know, it's this relationship between you and your higher self, between you and the divine, in whatever way that looks for you. You know, so when, you know, one of my dear friends said to me once that the sound that you hear back when you're chanting mantra is the sound of your higher self singing it back to you. And so even if it sounds a little off, still it's so beautiful, it's so amazing, you know? And so, you know, you can just fully enjoy that. And, you know, if you're playing drums and you get off beat, that's fine. That's all a part of it. We're just celebrating, we're having fun, we're connecting, we're just being in that energy. And then creating it. And Sankirtan means to create that space together. You know, so we're just creating, and the idea is with mantra is that, again, we're inviting that energy to be present with us. They say that mantra in the Bhakti Yoga tradition, which is the path of selfless love and devotion. They say that in this Kali Yuga, so Yuga is an age of time, they say that the prescribed method for this age is to chant mantra, because it's the easiest, it's the most direct. It allows, and we don't have time to sit here and study thousands and thousands of pages of text that we can memorize. You know, it's not like this anymore. You know, we aren't doing those things. We don't have time to do hours and hours of ritual maybe. You know, so the idea is that whenever the name is spoken, it becomes embodied in that space. It becomes embodied in the speaker. It becomes fully present there. So just like if you've ever seen a mandala or yantra, this is a visual representation of the deity in its geometric form, or an energy in its geometric form. And then if you've seen a statue, you know, maybe you've seen some of these idols and things like that, this is another form of just the imagery, a way to have a relationship. And then the mantra is then also another way of having a relationship. An interesting thing about the Vedic path is it's actually a monotheistic religion, as most people don't realize that. But the base current is just like, there is the universe. There is the universe, and everything comes from God. You know, so that is essentially the essence of these practices. But it's not required to have any form of spiritual tradition, again, to experience the joy. So that's kind of a rundown on some mantras. So we'll just kind of dive in, and we're going to start with this Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahimam, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Rakshamam. So Jaya means victory to Ganesha. So Ganesha being that power of myself to remove obstacles and to overcome. So I invite you to really offer, yeah.
Do you mind if I record so I
Yeah.
can learn these?
100%.
Because I want to see them at home.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is he recording it now?
I am recording a video of it as
And
well.
we have
so-
the live stream.
Yeah, and so either way, but if you want to, even if you want it on your phone, but I'll post it on probably my Facebook website and some of that as well, and
And
then
we have your cards.
Yeah, and I
so
got
we
the
can find
cards,
it,
so.
yeah.
But yeah.
You don't have to record it, you're right.
either way. Yeah. So Ganesh, you know, I really invite you to during each of these chants, maybe I'll give you a little bit of an intention, but I really invite you to offer up anything that you feel like is inhibiting you from being fully present where you are, from being fully situated in who you wish to be right now, and living the life that you want to live, and just offering up that, like, I do have the power to overcome these things and to move beyond. I already possess that. I don't need to seek that because it's already within me. So now we're just kind of offering that, waking up to that. So it'll be nice and easy. I mean, there will be a second part. So there is you can try to go say this with me, but it's Shara Vana Baba, Shara Vana Baba, and then Subra Manya. So Pahimam Rakshimam means save me, protect me. So just give me refuge. And then Sharavana Baba and Subramanya is to you who is the son of this Shiva, so the universe. And that's essentially what that is. And then Ganesha Sharanam is like singing out to Ganesha. We're just gonna kind of flow with it. You can just kind of sing with me, and then we'll be doing a lot of repetition and stuff like that. You know, so just kind of come in at your own pace. And if you feel like you're really struggling, you know, one of the best things that I personally do when I'm really struggling with like words is like I just pause and then come back in once the next verse starts. That allows me to not be, oh my God, I can't get it, I'm tripping over, I'm 3 seconds behind on every word I say. You know, so we'll just kind of have fun. So this is going to begin with an Om. So we're just going my brain just did a thing. Oh. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Sharavana Baba, Sharavana Baba, Sharavana Baba Pahi Mam. Subramanya, Subramanya, Subramanya Raksha Mam. Sharavana Baba, Sharavana Baba, Sharavana Baba Pahi Mam. Subramanya, Subramanya, Subramanya Raksha Mam. Sharavana Baba, Sharavana Baba, Sharavana Baba Pahi Mam. Subramanya, Subramanya, Subramanya Raksha Mam. Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesha, 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 Sharanam Ganesha. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Mam. Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha, Sri Ganesha Raksha Mam. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha Pahi Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha Rashama. I don't know why I haven't had to do this right
Different modes are different too, I don't know. What did you just do?
Oh, so this is, so basically I just made a drone.
Yeah.
So that then I can add in my, so it'll basically like, oops.
That mode, please.
Yeah, so this is,
Hold something down?
yeah, so
Oh,
these
it
are
holds-
reeds. Yeah, so it holds down the reed. And then by pulling the reed, then it just makes it so that note's like constantly playing.
Yeah.
So it's just like a way to create like a drone.
So this is also a string?
Harmonium. Same concept, right? But that you play it like piano.
Mix it up. Got these two songs and that are just mixed up. They're like, I was like, why is that sound wrong?
My accordion sounds like that sometimes.
See that again?
Like you squeeze a cat.
It's like, what you got going on here?
Oh, that sounds good.
So this is Om Mani Padme Hum. So this is the mantra of compassion. It is the mantra of Chinrezig or Avalokiteshvara, who is the bodhisattva of compassion. And the Dalai Lama is the incarnation of the bodhisattva of compassion. And the interesting and beautiful thing about a bodhisattva is that, so in that belief system in Buddhism and Hinduism, they sort of believe in the cycle of reincarnation. And when you've reached that apex, say enlightenment or God consciousness, or you become one with the universe, you can choose to just enter into that oneness, that blissfulness for the rest of eternity. Or you can choose to come back and you can choose to be a teacher to the world and help to guide other people to that same level of bliss and unconditional love that you've experienced. And so bodhisattva is somebody who's come back after reaching that apex of blissfulness to return into the world of time, space, and causation, of impermanence, to subject themselves to the potential for suffering, just so that they can share their love with you and help you find your way. So it's just kind of a beautiful little thing. So this mantra will be Om Mani Padme Hum. And then the second verse would be Om Chin Re Zig, Om Mani Padme Hum, and then it'd be Avalo Kit Teshvara. So just try, you know, it's a little bit. If you want to say it, so you can say it with me. So just Om Mani Padme Hum, and then Chin Re Zig, and then Avalo Kit Teshvara. Teshwara. Wa, like almost like a W.
Say that one again from the beginning.
So the V is a W.
It is kind of a, it is like Teshwara. It's yeah, so Avalo Kit Teshvara. So it's like, it's hard because it's, I'm saying it the same like the Tibetan version. Avalo Kit Teshvara. Vada. So you just try it.
See what
Just
happens.
try
I
it.
guess
Just see what
that-
happens. Om And that Avalokiteshvara.
That's good.
It took me quite a while, honestly.
I couldn't get the first part.
The Mani?
No, the Cheze, whatever.
Oh, Chenrezig, yeah,
Chenrezig.
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 Yeah.
It actually sounded like you were saying Vara at the end, not
Yeah.
Varda.
It is Vara. Vara.
Okay.
So like, so Ishvara. So Avalokiteshvara.
Vara.
Vara, sorry.
That's more-
So did I say?
When you sang it, it sounded more R than
Yeah.
D.
Oh, like.
Yeah.
Avalokiteshvara.
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 Yeah, it must be the right.
Yeah, it's weird because like the symbol, like the it kind of blends in a little bit. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, the river, okay, so find the river song, it's on the back side of maybe it's page 2, the river song, I saw David Ray.
River song.
River song.
Oh, yeah.
From the masterpiece from the, no, this is a little bit.
This is a little bit slower, yeah. Maybe I'll do kind of more,
Yeah.
yeah. And do you guys want to end with some drum ones? Or
Yeah.
end with some
Yeah.
drum ones?
Some
Okay.
drumming, yeah, definitely.
Please.
Yeah, so, wait, Saul David Ray, I mean, he has like an electric guitarist with him when he plays, and
Yeah.
it's this big, like, concert
Yeah, it's the whole,
feel that happens when this particular
yeah,
person
it's
disappears.
it's really beautiful. I mean, I got to recently take a kind of a workshop. We did like a 10-day thing, and I've known Saul for the last it's about 3 years. I met him when I was in India at the International Yoga Festival, and we kind of became connected through that. And then he was invited to Iowa City when Natalie performed
Played
with
with
him.
them, that was cool.
And so we just have kind of become friends and stayed friends through the online and that kind of stuff. And yeah, he's a really wonderful yoga teacher. So I've learned a lot through that, through him, and then just really, he's just such a sweet person. He just really taps into like the deepest essences of many of these mantra and yoga and all these things. And just, I think we have a tendency to want to make things pretty rigid as human beings, and even in yoga, we tend to think, oh, we want to get into these very high states of consciousness. We want to get into these very high vibrational states, which is really beautiful. But we also are these physical beings. We're these physical beings living in a physical world, and you also need to embrace all that has to offer. And I really enjoy that Saul kind of does this beautiful blend between getting into these higher states, but also being fully embodied in who we are. And I think that's, from a philosophical perspective, it's kind of fully becoming that connection between the father and the mother aspect. This idea of consciousness, and then this idea of all of the physical world. And so, I think the more that we can be fully embodied in who we are, and really enjoy all that this life has to offer us, because there's so much richness, it's so abundant. I mean, we're all being given gifts of this Mother Earth all the time. Everything that we're seeing right now in front of us is a product of this earth. So I think it's a really beautiful way of connecting to that and connecting to our own sort of sacredness. And this song specifically is really beautiful, and it's kind of talking about how all rivers lead to the ocean. So all paths lead to the same universal whole. And we're all just on our own individual journeys. It's like we're the individual raindrops. We travel over land, we go into lakes and ponds and creeks, and eventually find our way into the rivers, and eventually we find our way back into the ocean. And then from the ocean, we come back, right? So it's this beautiful thing of just letting yourself be surrendered to that current, and letting yourself trust that you're going to be carried to wherever it is that you need to go, rather than trying to fight and fight. If you try to fight upstream against the river, all you're gonna do is tire yourself out. You're gonna be kicking and screaming. It's still gonna carry you down that river. So you might as well just enjoy the ride, right? So this is so celebration of the mother is Ganga Ma, so it is the Ganges River, which is kind of a sacred river of purification. And if you're curious about meanings and things like that, I did put meanings on. So if you flip that page over, it has the meaning for these next 2 pages on there. But they're all there. So if you're just curious at all what these things mean, Hara is referring to Shiva, so the dispeller of darkness in this form. Shiva as consciousness as well, the father aspect. Ma means mother, and then Jaya is victory to a celebration as well. This is just really sweet chanting. So it'll just be kind of a mixture of English and then Sanskrit as well. Child, I will always be. Oh, mother, carry me down to the sea. Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma. Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. Oh, mother, carry me, your child I will always be. Oh, mother, carry me down to the sea. Jaya Gange Ma, 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 Jai 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 Ma. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. Oh, mother, carry me, your child I will always be. Oh, mother, carry me down to the sea. Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma, Jaya Gange Ma, Gange, Jaya Jaya 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 Gange, Jaya Gange Ma, 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 Jaya Gange Ma. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. Oh, mother, carry me, your child I will always be. Oh, mother, carry me down to the sea. Jaya Gange Ma, 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 Jai 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 Ma, Jaya Jaya Gange, 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 Hara Hara Gange, Shiva Shiva 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 Gange, Jaya Gange Ma, 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 Jaya Gange original one. And partway through this, I'm gonna make you guys do a little stand there.
Ooh, stand, yeah.
Okay.
So bottom of one of the pages is Hare Krishna.
On the back side of the
This
first
one
one
here?
that we did, it's on the back side of the first one we did.
Oh, backside of the first page, yep.
Yep.
So we can't wait, don't stand yet?
Not yet. So what we'll do is we'll go through kind of some of the songs, and then I'll stand up and I'll show you what to do. And we'll all
Okay.
sing it kind of a cappella, and it'll be wonderful.
Okay,
and
this
you're
side
gonna
of
love
the
it. Might be a little tired, but just kidding. So,
I promise.
yeah. So the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is a very beautiful mantra. So Hare means the feminine counterpart, Radha Krishna, and they come together. So Hare is that combination of the enjoyer and the mother in the form of the devotee and the person who is absolutely in love with this aspect of the divine, Krishna. So Krishna means the all attractive, the all beautiful. And Rama means the one who is the embodiment of all pleasures, who is the embodiment of Dharma, righteousness. You know, so essentially it's invoking this aspect of, these are also an aspect of the god Vishnu. So Vishnu is a kind of one of the primary deities you might have heard of before. So Rama, Vishnu, Krishna, all the same being. Just they believe in the Vedic tradition that whenever the teacher is needed, the teacher will appear. So in whatever age or whatever time or whatever place in which we need to be brought back to Dharma, back to righteousness, back to our center, the teacher will emerge. So this is kind of so. So this is this is a really beautiful chant. I learned this melody. You actually taught me the melody, but I learned it from Radhanath Swami, who was a good teacher of mine.
Right. We figured it out on piano, didn't we?
We did. We figured
Yeah,
it out on
that's
piano,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I'd sung this with him many times when I was in India, and then I was in California, and he was there, and we sang this, and I was just like, I have to come home and share this, you know. She's a much more accomplished musician than I am. So.
I don't know if I can figure that out. With the little things inside of it, yeah.
So this is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare
this song, so when it goes like, so that you really just belt it out. So when it's the Hare Krishna, so right? So just like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and then it's gonna be Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and then Hare, and then like that.
Try it.
Right?
Let's do it.
It's kind of a traditional dance.
Yeah.
Very
You know, when you're in
yeah.
Hare Krishna land and you get so blissed out, it's like, if you can imagine like a spiritual mosh pit. Everyone just, but everyone's very loving, everyone's running around. You know, when I was in India, there'd be like 60-year-old monks and we're just like running around,
Yeah.
just going
Yeah.
crazy. Everyone's so
Yeah,
blissed out and just having a good time.
Nice thing.
So, the same feel comfortable. You can have lyrics in front of you want, or just however you want to do it.
Right? Okay, we'll try. It's not the easiest melody. That's why
Yeah, it is
that's
a
why we had to
little-
figure it out together.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit, you know.
So,
So we'll just play around.
Yeah,
let's
take
take a little
some
bit.
of that.
let's do something on the drum now. Yeah?
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's one really good, one more Saul's that's really nice too.
Oh,
The Radhe Radhe Govinda. You want to do that one? It's a little sweeter, and then we'll go into some drums.
yeah, same page as the river song. At the bottom there.
Oh, which one?
Yeah, so it'd be Radhe Govinda at the bottom of the river song page. It's the one that's, you guys got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is really, it's a really sweet song. I mean, another one by Saul David Ray, and it's really just really talking about falling in love. You know, falling in love with that highest essence of self, falling in love with the divine, falling in love with life. And you know, the more that we can open up our hearts and our minds, and the more that we can really, you know, let go of some of our rigidity, kind of soften in our approach, and just like come to that place of unconditional love in ourselves. And this is, so Radhe Govinda, you know, kind of already kind of talked about this Radha Krishna. So Govinda and Gopala are Krishna as a cowherd boy. Yeah, so he, in the sort of the mythology of Krishna in the Purana, he lives as a youth in Vrindavan, and he's sort of this mischievous boy, and Radha is a cowherd girl. And they are sort of the protectors of the cows, but they feel this sort of this sacredness. But there's all these, sort of playful pastimes that occur off and on throughout this. So this is just about essentially falling in love with the sweetness of yourself, of the body. So it'll kind of go back and forth a little bit between English lyrics and mantra. But it's, it'll be mostly, it'll be kind of similar to how we just did the rivers. The only way to get back home is to open your heart and mind. The only way to get back home is to fall in love, to fall in love. Radhe, Radhe, Govinda. Radhe, Radhe, Govinda. Sham, Radhe 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 Radhe Govinda, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Govinda Radhe Radhe Sham, Gopala Radhe Radhe Sham, 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 Jai Shri 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 Radhe Sham, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. The only way to get back home is to fall in love with God above. The only way to get back home is to fall in love, to fall in love. Radhe Radhe Govinda, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Radhe Radhe get back home is to fall in love with God above. The only way to get back home is to fall in love, to fall in love.
These are transporting. All these, they really are. They're beautiful.
Oh, yeah, actually.
I think that, I know, I agree.
Let's do something. Drums, yeah, grab a drum or a shaker or?
Drum,
Drum shaker, okay.
So it'll be I'll just do, it's gonna be kind of a Hare Krishna again.
Okay.
So it'll just be kind of, just kind of join in with the rhythm and I just recently am starting to play more drums. So it's kind of a new experience for me a little bit.
Okay.
And so I just recently kind of came up with this chant. So
Cool.
it's a little bit, it has a pretty similar vocal line, but it's a little bit more spontaneous in how it's all kind of flowing. So it just kind of, we'll just kind of be along with it for the ride. I don't have this, written out, but it's more fun that way, I feel like. When we come together.
Yeah,
So,
great.
I'll try it. You're gonna play with your hands, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try it.
Let me get this piece out of the way.
Good try. Sure.
So, thing is about drumming is I'm not much. I think I've done just about as much drumming as you guys have. You know, so it's really, you know,
You just let it
it's,
go.
you can just play. You know,
Yeah.
you just create those bases, and that's the same thing with kirtan. I mean, all of it. You know, like my very first chant that I ever did, I got my harmonium, and 2 days after I got my harmonium, my friend was like, "Hey, you're gonna play with me. You're gonna perform with me during this group that we're gonna have." And there was like, you know, I used to do this group every week that I would lead, and we had like 20 people there. And we were supposed to do just like, he was like, "Okay, these are the chords, you're just gonna play it." And so we did this like Ganesh song. And it was supposed to be like a 3-4 minute song, you know, like they were supposed to be counting the full, like each line of the mantra was supposed to be counted on a beat. So it was gonna take us maybe 5 minutes maximum. Well, the person who was counting did the entire like stanza per beat. So we ended up chanting for like 30 minutes, you know, just like all these people, you know, so it was just like right away. But really, it was 2 chords, two chords oscillating on one finger, and that was, you know, a full chant. You know, it's the same thing with this. I just picked up the drum for the first time. I just got this a few weeks ago, and then I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna play, and whatever comes out is gonna come out, you know, and so let's just. You know, just have fun. I mean, it's really with all these things. It's between you and whatever you want to sing towards. You know, so it doesn't have to be so complex. You know, I've been playing now for like 3 years and I still don't know what to do. So, you know, so it's just you have to have fun. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah, that was fun, that was great.
Thank you. That's great.
Love your energy.
Yeah, thanks for bringing your
Really,
energy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, don't ever leave that energy at home.
It's impossible.
I don't think I've ever seen you do that.
That's what was that?
Thank you.
Not
Thank you.
possible. Not possible.
Great.
Yep. Just enjoy wherever you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks. No, this is great. Thank you guys so much. Really.
Thank you.
I hope you guys have been having a beautiful time so far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's been.
Special.
Yeah, that's how it is. You gotta ride those waves. Brings up all these
Yeah.
beautiful things to the surface that
That's
are a little
right.
uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
And you transmute it. The
That's
power
right.
of sound. You know,
Yeah.
it's a very beautiful thing. Yeah.
And mantras.
Yeah, mantras,
And
yes.
right?
That's quite an art to keep a beat with one hand and then get the other hand in.
Yeah.
It took me a long time. I finally got it, but it took me
Yeah.
quite a while.
And then my hands got sore after I finally got it.
Yeah, I went down to the just one hand then.
Yeah, I
Right?
know.
No, he's got this going all the time. He never
Yeah.
stops, and then he. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Looking at your wrong hand.
Yeah, it took me a while.
Yeah, you got
And then I
it.
tried to reverse it
Oh,
and do.
oh,
Oh, okay.
You got that one.
Just to
I couldn't, my brain couldn't do it.
Yeah, my
It's-
the hand I was keeping the beat with kept stopping when this hand came.
That's what happened when I-
Yeah, that was the hardest part to get, and I'm lucky because I'm like sitting right across from him, so I just got like transfixed on watching his hands.
And then it,
Oh. Okay.
it's like,
So you're leaving it down?
Oh, you are. Didn't
Yeah.
look like you were.
He always leaves his hand down. I did.
That's great. I kind of
Wire
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Maybe not on this one.
Yeah, I like to listen to
I
this
think
drum.
his
I'm just
drums
starting
do
to
fun.
play.
Yeah, that's a
This is
nice
tar
resonant
drum,
drum.
yeah.
Tar drum.
Yeah, these ones are cool because they're you know, so they're tunable heads and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And very thick rim. Look how.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, this is the 5-inch, 5.5 inch of the
Yeah.
gram.
What's the name of it again?
So this is a tar drum. So like, I got it through. I don't know.
You lost it?
I just, I'll have to. It's. Oh God, it's maybe they have it.
So
right
there's
now,
a
but
thing to
it's-
tighten it on the inside?
But yeah, so like it's tunable.
Oh, it's got the screws on.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like they basically, I just ordered it and then they make it for you. You know, so like they just like.
Does it say? Is that the brand? Or what is that?
It's like it is the brand. It's their logo.
But not their name.
I'll get it for you guys here in a second. It's like it starts with a C.
I've
It's
just
gone
never
on-
seen anything like that.
Yeah, they're cool. I just started this program online with this one teacher that I met through Saul David Ray actually, and she teaches like a lot of tar drum stuff. So it's kind of a mixture. It's a lot of like different beats from like Middle Eastern to Native American to Indian, you know, and like kind of showing you all these different kind of things that you can do, and then you can add chanting and that kind of stuff. But you know, hers, I mean, I'm really like she's doing like crazy, like thing, you know, crazy
Hand
rhythms
stuff,
with
yeah.
her hands.
It's usually with the
snapping.
fingers.
And you can
It's
do,
like-
yeah,
yeah.
it's using all your fingers, your palms. You can, there's like these ones you can do like spins and stuff.
Oh yeah, you like pull the finger.
Yeah. It's like you like, I don't, yeah, I wish I
Yeah.
knew, I don't know how to do it.
It takes
yet,
a lot of
but-
coordination. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Cool.
it's good stuff.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
guys
bringing
so
some
much.
different
Oh,
energy in.
definitely, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, no, thank you guys.
Awesome.
Glad we got to chat on you last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Perfect.
Good way to release.
Yes.
All right, well, for tomorrow, we're gonna start with Mark, who you met briefly today, and talk about kind of equipment and gear and recording, and then we'll move on to some specialty groups. We'll talk about working with dementia, cancer support groups. We'll get into a little more specifics, and then we'll do a little bit more technique with the instruments as appropriate